Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at a man who literally defined 20th century comedy. We all know the iconic mustache, the bowler hat, that famous twirling cane, right? He brought so much joy to millions around the globe, but behind that incredible on-screen persona was a deeply, deeply complicated human being. We're going to explore a really specific, highly dramatic chapter in his life. It's this period of profound personal agony that directly collided with the creation of one of cinema's absolute greatest comedies. It's a warm, but, undeniably melancholic story about how immense pain can somehow forge timeless art. Let's get into it.
So I want you to think about this for a second. How exactly does a comedic genius survive his darkest hour? Seriously, how does an artist deal with the devastating collision of a massive public scandal and crushing private heartbreak, all while carrying the literal burden of trying to make the world laugh? Well, Charlie Chaplin found himself in exactly this impossible position in the mid-1920s. He was at the absolute peak of his fame, yet behind closed doors, his world was just quietly collapsing around him.
Before we dive deeper into the details of this deeply personal history, I just want to gently note that this video is for educational purposes and created under fair use principles. All right, let's keep going. Take a look at this. This is Chaplin back in his early SNA days. He had meticulously built up this incredibly beloved, universal character in The Tramp. And honestly, by the time the 1920s rolled around, Chaplin wasn't just a movie star, he was arguably the most globally recognized figure on the planet. His on-screen persona was all about pathos, innocence, and bouncing back from hardship. But as we'll see, that perfectly crafted public image of the lovable underdog was about to be severely threatened by the chaotic reality of his off-screen life.
Part 1. A Scandalous Union, the Sudden Marriage to Lita Grey.
Now, Chaplin's personal life had always been, complex, but absolutely nothing could have prepared him or his devoted public for the sudden, secretive marriage that was about to turn into a complete public nightmare. It all started with his rapid, deeply unhappy union to teenage actress Lita Grey in November 1924. They'd actually met during her childhood, and she even appeared in his film The Kid. But while preparing for the gold rush, a surprise pregnancy completely forced Chaplin's hand. He was 35, she was only 16. That meant Chaplin faced a very real legal threat of statutory rape charges under California law. So to avoid that disaster, they hastily arranged a discreet marriage in Mexico. They ended up having 2 sons in really quick succession, but the marriage, it was fundamentally broken right from the start. Chaplin reportedly spent long, exhausting hours at his studio just to avoid going home. And finally, in November 1926, Lita took the children and left the family home. Part 2. The Bitter Divorce, a Public Fall from Grace. The private misery of this doomed marriage didn't stay private for long. It violently burst into the public sphere, and what followed was a scandal of epic proportions. It completely captivated the nation, nearly shattered Chaplin's illustrious career, and honestly pushed his mental state to the absolute brink. Lita Grey's lawyers filed a staggering 42-page divorce application that immediately leaked to a salivating press. And guys, it laid bare some shocking accusations: infidelity, severe emotional and physical abuse, and what the application termed perverted sexual desires. Just imagine the cultural shockwave this caused back in the 1920s. Headlines were literally screaming for his cancellation. Powerful groups across America actively mobilized to get his films banned from theaters. The emotional toll this took on Chaplin was just unimaginable. He was widely reported to be suffering from a severe nervous breakdown as he watched his entire life's work and reputation get dismantled piece by piece. To stop the bleeding and finally put an end to this brutal public spectacle, Chaplin's legal team agreed to a staggeringly massive cash settlement: $600,000. Now, I know $600,000 sounds like a lot anyway, but to put that into perspective for the 1920s, this was the largest divorce settlement ever awarded by American courts. At the time, it was astronomical. And while his loyal fan base did prove strong enough to eventually weather the incident, Chaplin himself was permanently deeply scarred by the whole ordeal.
Part 3. Production on the Brink. Art suspended by life.
What makes this story even more incredible is what was happening creatively at the exact same time. Right before the divorce suit was even filed, Chaplin had proudly started work on a highly anticipated new comedy called The Circus. But real life brutally interrupted the art. It was like a split screen of chaos. On the inside of the studio gates, you had this staggering 10-month suspension of filming. The set sat totally empty and dormant. His loyal assistant director, Harry Crocker, basically just stood by while the creative process completely languished. But outside those gates, a literal media circus was raging.
Reporters were swarming the place, the government started placing tax levies on his precious studio negatives, and the immense pressure of public condemnation was threatening to just suffocate him. His physical studio literally became a fortress under siege.
Part 4. The iconic Tightrope. Life imitating art.
But here's the thing. Charlie Chaplin was, above all else, a resilient creator. When he finally gathered the strength to return to work, the film he was making evolved into this haunting, almost painfully literal reflection of his own desperate survival. In what is easily one of the most brilliant moments in cinema history, the climactic scene of the circus features the tramp trapped high above the ground on a tightrope. He's up there, desperately trying to keep his balance, when suddenly he's besieged, bitten, and clawed at by a group of escaped monkeys. It hits the nail on the head so perfectly. It's the absolute tragic metaphor for Chaplin's own life at that precise moment. He was just trying to maintain his footing, trying to survive on the high wire of public opinion, while the chaos of the divorce, the media, and the legal system viciously tore at him from all sides.
Looking back at it, the incredible resilience of this artist against all conceivable odds is just staggering. Think about the steps here. He conceives this brilliant premise where the tramp accidentally becomes a circus star. Then he has to endure a grueling 10-month shutdown filled with agonizing personal shame and panic. And then, miraculously, he returns to the tightrope. He actually finishes this deeply troubled production and releases it to a really positive reception in January of 1928. It's a stunning testament to his ability to channel his deepest, most profound pain directly into a comedic masterpiece. Part 5. A bittersweet triumph, victory, and melancholy.
So the completion of the circus was undoubtedly a monumental professional triumph, a massive sigh of relief that his career wasn't actually over. But it was a victory that left deep, permanent scars on its creator's soul. The industry knew exactly what he had overcome to deliver this film. In fact, in 1929, at the very first Academy Award ceremony, the budding Academy chose to recognize his unparalleled, solitary genius. They actually removed him from the competitive categories and handed him a special, unique, honorary Academy Award. The citation highlighted his sheer versatility in acting, writing, directing, and producing the circus. It was a breathtaking one-man achievement, delivered while his personal world was quite literally on fire. Yet, despite all the accolades and the box office success, the sheer agony of the film's creation never truly left him. It's heartbreaking, really. Chaplin permanently associated the circus with the overwhelming trauma of his divorce and those scandalous headlines. In fact, it was so painful that he couldn't even bear to mention the film in his own autobiography. He completely omitted it. And decades later, when he decided to record a musical score for the movie's re-release, he struggled immensely just to revisit the footage. The artistic victory could just never fully wash away the personal pain.
All of this leaves us with an incredibly poignant thought to reflect on. When we look at Chaplin trembling on that high wire, fending off the chaos around him just to deliver a perfect moment of comedy, we really have to ask, does great art always demand such a heavy personal toll? It's a melancholic but beautiful truth that some of our greatest cinematic joys, the moments that make us laugh the absolute hardest, were actually forged deep within the very real fires of an artist's personal tragedy. Thank you so much for joining me on this emotional journey through such a pivotal moment in film history. Please do not forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel, Famous Lives Bio. I can't wait to explore more fascinating stories with you next time.